The beast that shredded armies rolled over when the human tossed a stick. The Krillian battlefront had fallen silent for the first time in 3 rotations. Commander Zexhai watched from his observation post as the legendary Vorthak prowled the scorched battlefield, its massive form casting shadows over the remnants of what had once been the pride of the Galactic Defense Coalition. The creature stood 12 meters tall, its chitinous armor gleaming like black oil under the twin suns. Acid dripped from its mandibles, hissing as it ate through metal debris. "How many battalions?" Zexhai asked his aide, though he already knew the answer would haunt him. 17, sir. The Altarian Heavy Division, the Centauri shock troops, even the Andromedan Elite Guard. The aide's tentacles trembled as he spoke. Nothing has ever survived direct contact with a Vorthak for more than minutes. This one has been active for 6 standard hours. The Vorthak had earned its reputation across the galaxy. Ancient predators. From the void sectors, they were living weapons that could shred through any known material, adapt to any environment, and heal from virtually any wound. Their neural patterns were so alien that even psychic species couldn't establish contact. When one was released onto a battlefield, retreat wasn't just recommended. It was the only option for survival. This particular specimen had already demonstrated why. It had torn through energy shields like tissue paper, ignored plasma bombardments that could melt starship hulls, and regenerated from wounds that should have been fatal. The Coalition's finest warriors lay scattered across the battlefield, their advanced weaponry reduced to twisted scrap. "Sir," the communications officer's voice cracked through the static. "We're receiving a transmission from Sector 7. A small vessel requesting permission to land." Zexhai's compound eyes narrowed. "What classification?" "Unknown, sir. The ship design doesn't match any known species in our database. They claim to have a solution to the Vorthak problem." The commander's laugh was bitter. "Another species, wanting to test their weapons against an unkillable monster? Tell them to maintain distance. We don't need more casualties. Sir, they're landing anyway." Through his enhanced optics, Zexhai watched a small, primitive craft descend toward the battlefield. It looked nothing like the sleek vessels of advanced civilizations, more like a metal box with engines strapped to it. Crude, utilitarian, and completely unimpressive, the ship's ramp lowered with a hydraulic hiss, and a single figure emerged. Zexhai adjusted his magnification, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. The creature stood on 2 legs like a centauri, but lacked their elegant build. It was shorter than most sapient species, covered in some kind of fabric, and carried no visible weapons. Its face was covered by a transparent material, some kind of breathing apparatus. "What species is that?" Zexhai demanded. His xenobiologist consulted her datapad frantically. "Unknown, sir. Bipedal, appears to be carbon-based, possibly mammalian. They call themselves humans?" The human walked directly toward the Vorthak, with an almost casual gait. The massive predator noticed immediately, swiveling its armored head toward this new potential prey. For a moment, the battlefield held its breath. The human stopped about 50 meters from the creature and did something completely inexplicable. It reached down, picked up a piece of debris, looked like a twisted metal strut from a destroyed tank, and threw it. The stick-like piece of metal arced through the air and clattered to the ground about 20 meters away. The human pointed at it and made some kind of vocalization that the universal translator couldn't parse. What happened next would be discussed in military academies for centuries. The Vorthak, the unstoppable killing machine that had shrugged off. Antimatter warheads looked at the thrown metal. Then it looked at the human, its massive head tilted in what almost seemed like confusion. Then, incredibly, impossibly, the creature moved toward the debris. "What is it doing?" Zexhai whispered. The Vorthak reached the metal strut and with surprising gentleness picked it up in its smaller manipulator arms. The creature that had torn through 17 battalions carried the debris back to the human like an offering. The human patted the Vorthak's armored hide and threw the metal again. Again the monster retrieved it. "Sir?" The xenobiologist's voice was barely audible. I think it's playing." For the next hour, the most feared predator in known space played fetch with a human. The creature's posture had completely changed. Where before it had been a coiled spring of death, now it almost seemed happy. Its tail wagged. Its acid-dripping mandibles had retracted, replaced by what could only be described as a pleased expression. "Get me a direct line to that human," Zexhai ordered, his voice hollow with disbelief. The communication came through clear, translated by the ship's more sophisticated systems. "Hey there. Name's Jenkins, Terra Canine Behavioral Institute. Got your distress call about a problematic predator." "How?" was all Zexhai could manage. "Well, your description matched a lot of behaviors we see in high-energy pack hunters. Territorial, aggression, dominance displays, destructive behavior when understimulated, classic signs of an apex predator with no proper enrichment. Poor thing was probably just bored and frustrated." The human, Jenkins, scratched behind what Zexhai now realized were auditory organs hidden beneath the Vorthak's armor plating. The creature made a sound that could only be described as purring. "We've been studying pack dynamics and predator psychology on Terra for thousands of years. Once you understand the behavioral patterns, even the most dangerous species usually just need proper socialization and mental stimulation." "You're saying this creature that destroyed 17 battalions was playing? More like acting out." "Look, we'll take him back to Terra, get him properly socialized with some of our larger pack animals. Maybe introduce him to our combat dogs. They might get along. We've had good success with interspecies integration programs." As Zexhai watched, Jenkins produced more objects from his ship. A massive ball, some kind of rope toy, and what appeared to be treats. The Vorthak's excitement was unmistakable as it engaged with each new item, its earlier ferocity completely forgotten. The galaxy's most feared predator rolled over for belly rubs. Within hours, Jenkins had loaded the thoroughly content Vorthak onto his ship. The creature had taken a particular liking to a simple rubber sphere, which it carried carefully in its mandibles like a treasured possession. "Appreciate the pickup," Jenkins called out as his ship prepared for departure. "We'll have him back home in no time. Oh, and if you run into any more unstoppable monsters, give us a call. Terra's got a lot of experience with difficult animals." As the primitive human vessel disappeared into hyperspace, Zexhai stared at the now quiet battlefield. 17 battalions had fallen to a creature that apparently just needed someone to play fetch with it. Somewhere in the Coalition archives, a new file was created. Species 2847H, humans. Classification, extreme caution. Notes, capable of weaponizing, friendship. Do not underestimate their ability to domesticate anything. The galaxy had learned an important lesson that day. Humans didn't conquer monsters. They adopted them.